3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, and roll it. Goose Chasers, what is up? Your boy David is here, and I'm rocking and rolling on this here Wednesday on a solo mission. We apologize for being a little bit vacant lately, but it's been busy. We had another wedding this past weekend. The fall weddings gotta stop. If you got a hunting buddy and he's your friend and you care about him or her, the fall weddings gotta stop. It makes it tough. You got to pick weekends. You got to shuffle. And I know, like, for me, I got more time to dedicate to the bush every year. Some of yous are hunting on the weekends. Those are the days that you hunt. And to have that stripped away from you because of a wedding. No, sir, I don't think so. Anyway, that's the last one of the fall of the year. If anyone asks me to go to their wedding, be in their wedding, or anything involving a wedding anymore throughout the rest of 2023, I'm sorry, your boy's answer is nah. But anyway, we're back here with another episode of Goose Chasing, brought to you by TAGNBRAG and TAGNBRAG Productions. If you would like some video work done, media work, I don't know, you just want some consulting maybe on how your social medias are doing, check us out, tagnbrag.co on our website. Also brought to you by TAGNBRAG Apparel and TAGNBRAG Land Management. We're here to build a better land management plan together. Now, I apologize that this is coming out to you a little bit later on this here Wednesday, but just got off of an 8-hour drive home from Ohio. Like I said, I was at another wedding this weekend, and your boy was not going to allow you guys to go without a Goose Chasing episode this week. So here we are. We're recording it a little bit late. I just drove 8.5 hours home, so I'm a little parched, but I got some things that I want to say. So let's go down the list. What's been happening? Well, what's been happening is seasons are opening up. Ohio just opened this past weekend. Good luck to all you Ohioans out there. New York just opened this weekend. Good luck to our fellow New Yorkers out there. Honestly, at this point in the whitetail woods, there can't be too many states that haven't opened. I feel like October 1st is kind of the later date. But if your state's not open, I'm sorry. You probably should move to another state or something, because that sucks. But for most of us, we're out in the woods, baby. We are out. The floodgates are lifted. That is a good feeling. I was up in Ohio this past weekend, and the leaves were changing. They're not changing like that down here in Tennessee quite yet. And then I go up to New York. I actually got a hunt in up in New York, which we'll talk about later in the show. But I got a hunt in up there, and when I go up there, the leaves are changing even more. I mean, it's full-fledged fall up there in western New York, and that's some exciting stuff. That got my loins a little hot and heavy, I'm not going to lie. And my pantalones stiffened a little bit. Neither here nor there. Anyway, last couple weeks in September, got a few public land hunts in down here in Tennessee. The season is now open here in Tennessee as well. God bless. Got some public land hunts in Tennessee, and honestly, I haven't seen a deer yet on public land down here in Tennessee. And you guys can go, oh, yeah, it's because he's a corn pile hunter up in Ohio. Well, you call me what you want to call me, but I'm out here trying. It's been hot, but I love it. I got the new XOP retrograde, this little tiny stand, a set of 4 sticks, super lightweight. I literally strap all of it to the back of my book bag and filled with all my camera stuff. I throw that on my back. I go hiking in there. And you know what I'm looking for right now? Acorns. Where are the acorns dropping? But down here in Tennessee, it's a little bit tougher on public land like that because the acorns are dropping everywhere. So where do you go looking for your deer? But getting back to the public land side of things, it's fun because, and I think Dean and I talked about it a little bit on the last show that we did, but the unknown portion of it for me is fantastic. I love it. Because as much as I love watching deer year to year on trail camera, once again, one of our favorite things to do, and Dino is a huge, huge advocate of that. One of his literally favorite things to do, why he's so good at the land management side of things. But some of that, like this time of year, can take you out of the hunt, can take you out of that like hunger, that like, oh, gotta get out there, gotta get in there, I gotta go shoot something. It can take you out of that because a lot of times right now the bucks are disappearing on trail camera. And a lot of that has to do with the woods changing. Acorns are falling, maybe persimmons up in New York, apples, huge thing right now. Apples are dropping. The deer don't have to leave the cover in order to find food right now. So you may have planted a beautiful, lush brassicas plot. You got them romaine-sized lettuce leaves, like 16, 17 inches long leaves. They got, when the deer eat them, they hang all the way down to their hoofs when they're chewing on them. And your food plot looks sexy as hell. You could roll around in that thing with your honey. And you're sitting up there in your box blind and you're like, man, I can't see shit right now, man. There was even a cold front in October and my bucks aren't showing up on camera and my fucking, all I'm seeing is Bobby Buttons. He comes out, he's eating all my turnips, and I don't know what the hell's going on. I put all this work in, and all my deer gone. Help. Well, let me just calm you down real quick, okay? The deer aren't gone. Things are just changing, okay? And that's not a bad thing. You just have to adjust to the change. Right now, the deer may not be coming out into your brassicas plots or your bean plots as much right now because they don't have to leave the cover to find food. If there's acorns nearby, if there's oak trees nearby, that's going to have a major, major effect on what you're seeing on trail camera right now. Same thing. If there's apples nearby, or maybe you don't have apples, but your neighbor's got a good old apple orchard or just a couple of apple trees out there, and you're like, I need to plant some apple trees. But I guess my point is right now you got to take a deep breath. You got to relax. The bucks are packing on and they're also conserving. So as much as they are going to start shifting a little bit, bopping around a little bit, checking some scrapes, they are still conserving a little bit, and they're packing on the pounds. They want food, okay? Oak trees, acorns. If you got persimmons down here in the south, bless your heart, because you're going to find deer there. And up north, especially up in New York, where I was just hunting this past couple days ago, apples. I literally watched the deer walk through the food plot, walk through the turnips, through the clover, all of it, and go right under the apple tree and start hammering apples. They don't have to leave the cover. And the big bucks right now especially know that. They've been through these seasons before. They've been through it. They've been through maybe getting pushed a little bit, or opening day comes and there's an influx of people in the woods. They feel that pressure a little bit. They don't have to move. And the trail cameras, if you've got your trail cameras on the same old spots that you had them on all summer, you're likely not going to be seeing the same deer, and you're more than likely not going to be seeing that mature buck, and definitely not as often right now, unless you're literally dropping it on some sort of food and mineral pile, whatever, if your state allows for that. Then you may still see them at night right now, but you're probably not. But it's because their natural food, their natural browse is becoming more readily available right now, or things are just changing. Things are becoming more palatable right now, so naturally they're shifting. Now, for me, where I'm going to set my trail cameras up right now, I personally, because like I said, especially down here in Tennessee, when you get onto some of this public land, like there's acorns everywhere. So you can't just find an oak tree with acorns falling out like under it and be like, oh yeah, I got it. I'm going to set my stand right here and I'm going to see deer. That may not be the case either, because literally there's thousands and thousands of acres of acorns. There's thousands and thousands of acres of acorns. But there's hundreds of thousands of acres that literally have oak trees on it. So you got to find the ridges that they're utilizing, maybe something closer to, a thicket or a bedding area, something closer to a stream or a river system or some sort of water source. Or maybe they are getting out into like the crop fields at night, but you just want to find like a little pinch with some sort of oak ridge near it, near that destination food source. But even still, getting back to the trail cameras, like you can't just set your trail camera on an oak tree and be like, oh yeah, this is it. If I don't see him here, he's gone. That may not be the case either. For me, right now, and it might be a hair. It's really not a hair premature, but it might be a hair premature for like intense activity. But I am moving my trail cameras. We are moving our trail cameras right now to scrapes, because the deer are naturally moving around at night. They may be getting a little bit more nocturnal, that October lull period, whatever. But when they're moving around at night, they're exploring and they're starting to communicate. And those can be the finite points that you need in order to snap that picture, get that trail camera video, or whatever, to give you a little bit more confidence that, oh, your boy is still there. Okay, he didn't just up and leave. Like I said, the intensity is going to ramp up towards the, obviously as we get towards the end of the month, and certainly on any sort of cold front. But every day that we move through October is another day closer to like more morning daylight activity on some of these bucks, and those are going to be on scrapes. They may be cruising around, browsing as they go, but don't let them fool you. They're cruising to communicate and to assess and to visualize their attack for the rut, and to understand what other bucks are in that area, what kind of pecking order there is. If they got to blow their neck out on October 16th, or if they can kind of, lay down under that witch hazel, lay down under that hemlock and rest for a little bit until like the 25th, and then they can get up and get all big and burly. What do they got to do? They're walking around, they're using their nose to communicate. They're using their nose and their glands, I should say, to communicate. And they're doing that on scrapes that they may have done that on the year previous. Or maybe it's just a primary scrape on your specific piece of property that you know about. Or, here's an idea. Get you some code blue and make a mock scrape in a travel corridor where they go through. So they want to start communicating right there. Suck them in. But I know there's a lot. I mean, I see it. You see it on social media. My buck's gone. What do I do? My buck. First of all, chill. It ain't your buck. It's God's buck. So chill for a second, bro. Anybody who says my deer, instantly tuned them out. Not listening to you anymore. You lost me. You're bigger than everybody else. We get it. You lost me. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough time of year to be extremely effective because the bucks patterns are becoming a little like more unpredictable. And obviously there's certain ones that are going nocturnal. There's certain ones that are shifting. You may have been getting pictures of a buck every day throughout the summertime. Well, now he's just traveling around a little bit more. He's not bedding in the exact same spot every night. He might be a couple hundred yards over this way, or shit, he could be a half mile from you. They're so personality and buck dependent that you don't know. You may have a homer that you get pictures of all summer. He stays around, scrapes on your property, ruts on your property, and just doesn't ever leave. Then there's a buck that travels like 150 miles and across 3 different states. It was the craziest story I've ever heard in my life. But right now, so one of my buddies gave me a couple good things to talk about. Talk about these next few weeks, what's happening in the woods, the deer movement, the October lull, trail cam replacement, what to expect leading into the rut. We've touched on a lot of that. I guess the October lull is just the change in the time period between like these bucks on their summer patterns and being all batched up, and then them going into the solitude of the rut and the competitiveness of the rut. It's kind of like we're bridging the gap right now because they'll still tolerate each other. They'll still like tolerate each other on the same food plot. I mean, I watched a couple bucks the other night in New York. They were feeding together under apple trees, whatever. They would every once in a while bang heads together and, just start kind of feeling the dominance or the pecking order a little bit. But as I said, both of them throughout the night, I watched them both for like an hour, and these are, younger deer, but I watched them both for an hour, and they each hit 3 different scrapes, and not hit them. They're not like hammering, digging holes in the ground, but they went around the field, and as they fed around the field and around the apples, they nosed 3 different branches, the 2 of them. So you can see, even as they're like I said, they may browse to another spot or another area, but they're going there with the intent to start figuring shit out. I don't put a ton of pressure on this time of year either. Like, the way that I personally hunt, and this is learning from past mistakes, is if you had a buck on camera all summer and now he's starting to disappear a little bit more, that shouldn't mean, if you're targeting that specific deer or a deer of his caliber, whatever you want to say, that shouldn't mean go hunt harder and hunt mornings and hunt like every waking hour and, marginal wins, whatever. In my head, I actually reel it back a little bit. Like, I'll wait for the perfect time to go into that specific spot this time of year. I'm talking about this time of year right now in early October, because I know the rut is coming. I know the window of opportunity for me to kill a good buck, like, is that later October, first couple weeks in November time period for most of us throughout the whitetail world. So the time to exhaust yourself and spend on stand is during that time. Right now is the time to be strategic. Pick the days to go in there with the right wind, like the right wind, the wind that you need. Pick the days based on the weather, cold front. If a cold front's moving through, if a rain front just moved through, maybe it didn't get very cold, but a rain front just moved through and it went from, cloudy and rainy to sunny in the afternoon. If the pressure is changing, like, think about all those things and be strategic right now. especially if you're honing in on one specific deer. It's a long season, and you certainly don't want to wish the time away, but you also definitely don't want to burn yourself out right now, because that is easy to do, because you're going to go into the woods right now and you're not going to see a ton of deer. You're not going to see any crazy deer movement, especially if you're hunting like hardwoods, public land, that type of thing. It's going to be the nature of the beast, I think. And that's just, over the years, I've learned, there's a little threshold with me where I can get burnt out. As much as I love to do all of this, I can get burnt out, and especially towards the end of the year, or towards the back half of the rut, when you really need your mental focus and you really need to keep grinding, because at that point anything could happen. Anything could happen. Right now you're kind of still trying to predict the weather as far as the deer movement goes, and as far as targeting a specific one. So try and predict it and be strategic. Entry and exit, have a plan for that. Don't just wing shit this time of year, because that can make the quote unquote best time of year not as good for you, mentally, physically, Mother Nature wise. If you've kind of pushed things out, obviously anything's subject to move in, but the does, you don't want to be scaring, you don't want to alert the doe groups and stuff like that either, because essentially that's what you're hunting during the rut. You're hunting the doe groups, and you're hunting the bucks that are coming in and looking for them. So that's, I don't know, I guess that's just some of my advice with that. Expectations leading into the rut. And honestly, this time of year, we haven't had a ton of success. A couple years ago, we had Nipsey pegged, and that was one of the times where it was we need to get aggressive on this deer. We were actually hunting a plot that was fairly far back into the woods, and an area where we wouldn't typically pressure that early in the year, but the cameras, and he was telling us I'm huntable. Go hunt, go get, in those instances, go read the cameras. If you're getting bucks that you would shoot in daylight, and it's with any sort of consistency on food sources and stuff, when you've got the right wind, go hunt them. But you can't just wish shit or make shit happen because you want it to happen. If it's not happening, also read the cameras. Don't burn yourself out, or go move your damn cameras. If it's on a food source and you're not seeing what you want to see, well, go walk the perimeter of that food source, and I can promise you there's probably a scrape. If it's a field, there's probably a scrape somewhere in the vicinity. Start there. Throw a camera up on the scrape. Monitor it for a couple days or a week. See what happens. As you get closer and closer to the end of October, you're going to start seeing more and more activity on scrapes. And if a scrape isn't active, definitely move the camera. Definitely. Because you're trying to hone in and find, or I at least am trying to hone in and find scrapes that matter. Scrapes that are going to tell you something. Scrapes that have activity. And so that's what I'm looking for. If I find a scrape and it's a natural scrape, or even if I make a mock scrape, I guess a mock scrape is a little bit different, because give maybe the deer a little bit more time to find it. Once something finds it, if they return, you're in the money. Okay. It means they're coming back and checking it out, and they want to communicate. If they don't return after, a handful of days, okay, maybe you shift it a little bit. But definitely a scrape that you just find in the woods, if you find it and you put a camera on that scrape, especially as we move towards the later part of October, if you're not getting activity on that scrape once the 20th, 21st, 23rd, 5th, whatever comes around, now it's time to move that camera. Start shifting it around a little bit. There's probably a scrape somewhere closer by, close by, but you may just have to put boots on the ground and do some walking. Now is the time to, if you find a scrape right now, more than likely it's a primary scrape, because those deer are utilizing that right now already. More than likely, like I said, they're going to come back to that throughout the rut to see who's in, what sheriff's in town, who's using it, if a doe's marked it, all that stuff. So if you find a scrape right now, definitely you need a camera on it. What else did Kyle say? A lot of guys are trying to hunt target bucks first few weeks of the season, but their bucks are all nocturnal. Talk about why. Well, we kind of talked about that. Like I said, if you've got something on camera that's consistent and daylight active, then for sure, go hunt him on the right winds, on the right conditions. Go hunt him, but don't burn yourself out right now. I mean, there's a number of reasons why the bucks go nocturnal. Like one of them, as we talked about earlier, is natural browse, natural crops, woods crops, whatever you want to call it, like just different food now being available. And they're packing on, and they're still conserving. They're starting to communicate, but they're still conserving. So naturally, they're going to not move as much. But, and Mark Drury says this, and I believe that it holds true, a cold front in October, you need to be in the woods for. Just pick a spot with your best wind, get in there. If you got a food source, get on it, watch it, at least observe and see what's going on. But a cold front in October, especially one that drops 15, 20 plus degrees, in a day's time span, you got to be in. The deer feel it. They're going to shift. They're going to start moving around. They're going to be food. They're going to have food on their mind. And so if deer start piling into a certain field, well, there will likely be bucks that will be piling in there as well, and there then will be likely bucks just bumping things around and checking things out, especially if there's scrapes in or around that field. So that's it. I mean, yeah, I guess kind of getting back to it, like hunted some public land down here in Tennessee. I love throwing that in the mix, as I said, the unknown factor of it, or just not watching the trail cameras. Like I feel like you can go on to public land, or at least this is kind of how I view it, is going on to public land and like just learning deer more, learning the woods more. Just making me understand things that I don't, I just going in with a clean slate with the unknown, and you're almost forced to find sign. If you want to see deer, you're almost forced to go search and find sign. And sometimes the sign is, maybe where you thought it was on a map or on OnX or something before that. And sometimes it's not. And it's cool to learn that on different pieces of property. And you can always then apply it to your private or your permission or your leases, whatever you got. But I don't know. It's just fun for me, and I love to learn. So I've been enjoying doing that. Definitely going to get back to hunting Tennessee the later part of this week. There is a cold front coming in, so you got to be in the woods. You got to be in it. But I was able to get up to New York for the second day of the season on Monday with Dean and my dad, which was awesome. Kind of unexpected, but we stayed home an extra day. So I'm like, if we're staying home, I got my bow, I got my stuff. I'm going up to New York, even if it's just for an afternoon, and I'm getting in the woods. And it was fantastic. You can see that on our YouTube channel if you go check it out. We got new vlogs pumping out the yin-yang almost daily now that season is rolling. But it was cool to be up there and see deer, for one, because I've been hunting a handful of times down here in Tennessee. I haven't seen a deer on public land, and it was cool to observe. You know, I'm sitting over this clover, kind of half clover, half brassicas mix, and it's a beautiful food plot, but there's apples literally surrounding this thing, and Dean is sitting on another. He's sitting on the edge of corn and clover as well. And my dad was, where was my dad? Oh, he was back on a little like kind of kill plot in the hardwoods on some clover too. He didn't see a deer. Dean only saw 2. I saw almost 10 deer, and they all were crushing the apples, all of them. And they would literally were going from apple tree to apple tree. I mean, they'd grab a handful of bites of clover as they were walking across this field, but it was apples or bust for them. And it was just cool to see that and observe. And, you know, we've been getting a little frustrated with our cameras, our trail cameras up in New York, because it seems like some of the bucks that we had on camera, you know, have, you know, not necessarily disappeared, but they're just far less frequent, and you're wondering where they are and what they're doing. Well, there's up in New York, there are beaver swamps and apple trees everywhere. And more than likely, if you own a piece of ground up there, you got one or both. And so it's just like the acorns down here in Tennessee. It's tough to hone in. But if you've got a good stand of apples on your property, there's more than likely going to be some deer around, specifically right now, because they were dropping like acorns were when I was observing all of this. And it's funny because some of them apple trees, they'll drop like they're, you know, mid-October, they'll be dropped. And then you get the smaller ones that will hold on late until the wintertime. And there's literally one tree in front of 10 yards in front of this blind. And we trimmed over the years, we've trimmed the bottom of it. This thing's got to be 30 feet tall now, easily 30 feet tall. But it's like Dean and I call it the palm apple tree, because the top branches are all just like flowing out like a palm tree. And they are loaded. I mean, loaded with apples. And the deer can't even come close to reaching them because they're so high. But I feel like they're the smaller ones, and I feel like they're going to hold on. And so late season in this specific blind is going to be nuts. Like, because if the deer are eating apples, you can't even see them because they're so close to the blind. But I had deer eating right under me. I had deer eating across the plot. They were switching places. They were going all over the place. Wherever there was apples, they were munching, which was pretty cool to observe. But that's, you know, I guess getting back to some of the hunting habits or what, like, strategies this time of year. I hate saying like observation sits, but in that instance, it was cool to observe and learn what the deer were doing. Now you can make adjustments to go kill something, or make your, I guess, expand your opportunities. You can kind of shift your thinking, your spot, your whatever. If you've got that as an opportunity on your property, take advantage of it right now. But it was cool to observe that because, you know, as we started this conversation, well, the buck that I have been watching all summer left, well, more than likely that buck, if it's pertaining to New York, is munching on apples right now. If you've got apples around, I suggest you go get yourself a stand and put it next to your best apple tree. But anyway, moving forward, like I said, we got a cold front coming in this weekend. Pumped about that. From New York to Tennessee, we will be in the woods because there are going to be deer on their feet. I can promise you that. Probably see a new buck or two show up on camera. So if you got your trail cameras out, you might want to make sure they're working, cards are cleared, batteries are full. Now is the time of year where you need that most recent information. Now that the season is upon us, you would be a fool to have a trail camera in the woods that isn't working. You would also be a fool to not have a trail camera to have a trail camera and not have it in the woods, if you're serious about any of this stuff. So that is my suggestion to all of you: is before this cold front hits, this weekend. Get out there. Change your batteries if you need to. Go check the cameras. Bring a new card so it's got a clear card. If you're using Moultrie Mobile Edges, you don't need an SD card, and that sucker sends it right to your phone anyway. But make sure it's batteried up. Make sure it's good to go. Make sure your plan is paid for, and go set it up on a scrape somewhere. And tell me, comment on this video and let me know that he showed up. He's back. He's not back. He never left. You just didn't have your camera in the right spot to catch him because he's shifting a little bit. But man, it's an exciting time of year. It is October. The leaves are changing. It's going to start getting cooler quick. I am pumped. Going to be hunting down here in Tennessee. Going to be going up to Wisconsin with the XOP boys next week. Trying to make it happen to get back to North Dakota for a couple days with Dino next week, or not this weekend, but the following weekend as well. And then we'll be back. I'll be back in Tennessee. Dean will be rolling in Ohio and New York for our scrape week, which is going to be the last week of October. You guys can't miss it. You can't miss it. If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, go do it right now. If you don't follow us on Instagram or TikTok, go do that right now too. Because Scrape Week is going to be sick. We're partnering with Code Blue and Moultrie Mobile on this. We are going to be hunting by day, editing and producing by night. For the full week, we are going to be giving you updates in the field of what we're doing, what we're seeing, tactics that are working, stand placements, trail camera placements, all that good stuff. And guess what? We're going to be hunting scrapes. And then after that, we got Rut Week in New York. Actually, a combination of Ohio and New York this week. Fired up about that. Obviously, Rocky, brought to you by Rocky. We've been doing that for years. That's one of the favorite weeks of the year. Not only for us, but for you guys. So I'm fired up about that. Last year, we took down Jamario Jr. We took down Cartman. That was sick. The year before that, it was Neil. It was Gary Clark Jr. That was sick. And then, we're going to be rolling. Got a Kansas tag. Going to be doing that later in the year. Just fired up. Got tags to fill. And I'm fired up. But we're going to also be doing live updates every week on here, too. I promise you, we are not going to be vacant. No more weddings. I said no. I said no to the chicken, no to the steak, no to the salmon. I don't want any of it. I don't want to dance. I'm not putting on a tie. Those fancy shoes, put them in the back of the closet. Get me my Rockies, my Venator camo. Give me my bow and a camera in hand, and I'm going to be in the woods. So I hope if your season has started already, you've had a little success. Maybe you filled the tag. Those of you that have filled the tag, God bless. What an accomplishment already. Those of you who haven't, it's early. Enjoy it. Be where your feet are. Enjoy the hunt. Have fun. Stop looking at everybody on social media and comparing yourself. It doesn't matter. You have fun. You do it. You hunt for you. If you see something that gets your little ticker, bumping, if it gets your ticker bumping and you want to shoot it, shoot it. And send it to us, because I'll be like, yo, congrats. Hell yeah. Chest bump. Virtual chest bump. But hunt for you and have fun. Stay where your feet are. Enjoy every part of this season. Don't wish the time away. Be safe. Hunt hard. Hunt happy. God bless. That's it. That's what we're here for. And don't be the guy on social media making any stupid negative comments. We're in this together, y'all. We're in it together. Be in it together. Okay? That's it. Solo episode this week. Dino will be back next week. We'll be getting ready to get on the road next week. And then the one after that might be coming to you from a different state. That's just how we roll. It's time, baby. It is time. Our loins are burning. It's time. I'm fired up. So y'all have a fantastic week. Finish out the week strong. If you don't already, subscribe to us here on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcasts, subscribe to us. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, baby, because we got that fire content coming out on the reg. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go follow us. Let's have some fun this year, folks. Let's have some fun. I appreciate you listening. If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I'm not saying that to bullshit. I appreciate you. Y'all have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic week. If you get to hunt this weekend, God bless. Enjoy your time. And we'll see you right back here Wednesday on Goose Chasing. Love you.